What happens if you sign a lease agreement in Western Australia and then you no longer want the property? Are there cooling off periods? So I'm a property manager from Western Australia and I can tell you, no cooling off periods in Western Australia. That goes for rentals and sales. So whether you're buying or leasing, no cooling off periods. Once you sign, you've signed. Now, I've had a tenant that signed a lease agreement and then didn't turn up to pick up the keys, hadn't paid the bond, etc. So I called them, finally got through, and they just said, oh, we don't want the property anymore. We're not going to proceed. We're just going to use the cooling off period. Now, there's no cooling off period. So in this instance, I did have it as a condition of the lease, for the lease to be valid, that the bond and the initial 2 weeks rent has to be paid. And that obviously hadn't happened in this circumstance. So the lease wasn't valid. So that's fine. We will relet it. We're going to do another viewing and find a tenant. Extremely frustrating. Definitely. And just really poor form. It's okay, things change, but the communication was subpar. But if I did not have that condition in the lease that the rent and bond had to be paid for it to be valid, then that tenant is required legally to pay the rent. They're in a tenancy. If they weren't wanting to proceed, then it would be considered a break lease. So just be really careful before you sign a lease, put an offer on a property in Western Australia. No cooling off periods.